What's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back. How we doing? Um, Welcome back to another episode of Nothing But Rip. Oh man, happy Thursday. We're almost to the weekend. Weekend is right around the corner. Um, Man, Dodgers took a tough one last night in Game 3. Um, the Phillies they woke up. They woke up. You know, it's to get the sweep. I don't think I don't think that was to be expected, but we got game four. Got game four today, so hopefully we could go in there and bring it home. Let's just uh let's just take this one and move on to the NLCS. Um, but yeah, man, hope you guys are doing good. Uh, week six, week six in the NFL is getting kicked off tonight. Giants and Eagles should be a good one. Should be a good one. Eagles are coming off a tough loss last week, so um, we'll see if they can bounce back. But yeah, man, I think they can get it done. They're in New York, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Should be a good week in the NFL. Um, so so yeah, the Yankees got knocked out last night, so there won't be a rematch. That's for sure. Um, Hopefully the second half of last year's World Series could make it there. So we just gotta take care of business today, man. Just gotta take care of business. Let's see. I think let's see what we have on the mound. So we got Glass now on the mound. Phillies got Sanchez, who I believe pitched in game one. Yeah. So hopefully Glass now he could go in there and do his thing, man. Hopefully he could go in there and do his thing, and hopefully we could get our bats going again. Seems like we just really couldn't get anything going. So, yeah, do not want to go back to Philly. That's for sure. Do not want to go back to Philadelphia. So, yeah, hopefully they could just get it done tonight, man. Because the Phillies were just cracking last night. Kershaw came in, um, just pretty exciting. I mean, I figured they would put him in a reliever position, but they just uh, they just let him have it. They just let him have it. You know, no mercy, no mercy. But yeah, guys, I think we should be good. I think we should be good. I think we'll get it done tonight, and we'll see who comes out of Milwaukee and Chicago. But yeah, man. Um, But yeah, weekend is almost here. Weather's cooling down. It's getting to that time of the year where, weather's starting to cool down. Good time for some golf, you know. It's starting to get darker a little earlier though. But yeah, guys, I mean, we're almost to the finish line of 2025. Um, I kind of wanted to like kind of do a little, I don't know, maybe I guess like a little like intro of myself. I don't think I ever did that when I started this. I think I just jumped right into like sports and stuff like that. Um, but think I should tell you guys a little bit about myself. Maybe you guys could, so you guys could get to know me a little bit more. For those of you that don't know me, for those of you that watch and have known me for a while, I mean, you pretty much probably know more or less about me and stuff like that. But um, yeah, you know, maybe it's probably a good time if I just tell you a little bit about myself and you know who I am and stuff like that. I mean, this is pretty much it's kind of like what this is for, kind of give you guys an inside look on who I am, and what I got going on. Um, just for me to talk to you guys, you know. Um, I think right now, like, I think right now, that's kind of something that's, missing in our society right now is like people just talking, people just not necessarily, you know, talking to each other or anything like that, but like, I mean, obviously, like the whole online presence of people, it's very prevalent, podcasts and stuff like that. But I think in general, like talking, you know, I don't think people talk to each other um, enough, you know. Um, I think I think it's just become something that like we might be missing in our society right now, That's kind of why I wanted to, start doing this is just to like be able to talk, you know. I think I think for the most part in our daily lives, we're so caught up in what we're doing, we're so caught up in our routine and, stuff like that. We're like we really don't get the chance to just talk, unless you have like somebody to talk to, you know. But I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, but yeah, I mean, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to start doing this was just to be able just to talk, just to talk about whatever, talk about whatever's going on, talk about sports, talk about life, talk about whatever I got going on, talk to people that I bring on, and let them share their um, perspective on things or whatever it may be, or just us talking about whatever, you know. Um, because at the same time, I think like I think listening. I think listening is something that is very key in our society. I think that's why podcasts are so popular because like we're able to just listen, listen to people talk, listen to people share their perspectives and, or just listen to them like just talk shit or whatever. Like, you know, like that's pretty much what maybe this world is just like it's kind of wrapped around like us listening and, you know, watching other people do what they're doing, you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think I think it's only fair for, me to just share who I am and, you know, little little background of me, like um I grew up fairly, I guess, fairly normal. Um I grew up in East LA. For those of you that might not be familiar, if you're watching, uh, Southern California on the outskirts of like downtown LA. Very like very Hispanic population, very rich history of, Hispanic culture. Um, but yeah, I grew up in East LA. Uh, for those of you who are, familiar with the area, right there on Third Street. Um, if you know the area, there's a King Taco right there on Third Street, and that street that's right there is called McBride. So I grew up on that street. Um, lived with my mom and my grandma, and yeah, we lived just a fairly average, you know, nothing crazy. We weren't like super wealthy or anything, but like, I don't think we're poor or anything, but um, just a regular family, you know. My mom and dad, they had separated when I was little, so I lived with my mom, and then I would just go see my dad whenever I went to go see my dad. Um, but then we moved from East LA when I was about it was probably about 5 or 6 maybe. Moved to Rolling Heights, to a little further east, and maybe lived there for about a year. Then we moved to Upland, lived there for about a year. So like we moved around a lot when I was younger. Um, Ended up in Pomona. Grew up in Pomona for the most part, from like second grade to seventh grade. Um, but when we were jumping around before that, like, being the new kid was always a was always an interesting experience, you know. Um, for those of you who can relate, I mean, it's like you're going into like this whole new world as a kid, and I guess it can be pretty scary, you know. Um, Now that my daughter, she just started school this year, and you see all the kids, before school, when school was getting started, they're just scared. They're scared, they're crying, they don't want to go in, and they're just holding on to their parents, and it's crazy because like, you know, I don't really remember like exactly how I felt, but I know you can kind of see like when you see them, you can kind of see, oh yeah, like it is pretty scary because you're just going into like a complete different environment. But yeah, anyways, like so like I was always the new kid. Um, when we got to Pomona, I was I was in second grade, so um, yeah, it was it was interesting. Um, but yeah, we lived there. We lived there for a while, right there off of Phillips Ranch. Went to Decker Elementary, and yeah, lived there till like I was in seventh grade. Um, but when we were there, like you know, being a kid was being a kid was fun. You know, um, it was a completely different world than it is now. Uh, I just remember like just always being outside, always being outside. You know, playing with friends, uh, just just out there, just being kids. You know, whether we're playing basketball, football, baseball, you know, whatever. You know, riding bikes, riding scooters, riding skateboards, riding rollerblades. You know, um, I think when I was about like in third grade, you know, that's when I started like kind of walking to school with my friends, and like we would like rollerblade to school. Um, at that time, there was I think a movie on Disney Channel. It was called Brink. For those of you who grew up around the same time I did, I was born in 1991, so you know, grew up in the 90s, and so around that time, you know, Disney Channel was like the thing, and there's a movie called Brink, and it was like a rollerblading movie, and like we are all into it, and and yeah, so like we would just rollerblade, you know, to school, just be carrying rollerblades around. Um, definitely don't see that today. I don't think you'll ever catch a kid just rollerblading. But yeah, man, we were just kids being kids, you know. There was no social media or anything like that. You know, it was, you know, you go outside, um, you go to whoever's house and you knock on their door and see if they could come outside, you know, see if they could come outside and play. Um, and if they could, they could. If they couldn't, they couldn't. If they're grounded and they couldn't come outside, you know, that was it. On to the next house. On to the next house. And yeah, you know, that's how it was. Go home when the lights come on, you know, you better be inside by the time the lights come on. You better be on your way home by the time the lights come on. If not, then that's a wrap. That's a wrap. You know, I know I stood out a little bit past that time, and you know, couldn't go outside for the next couple of days or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was a cool time because like it just felt like just you're just free to do whatever you need to do, you know. Um, so yeah, you know, and then you know I would go go to my dad's house. My dad always lived in, Montebello, so go to his house. We would do our thing, play sports, stuff like that. Um, but I grew up, I grew up loving sports. Sports has always been a big part of my life for sure. Uh, basketball was like my first kind of, I guess, love. Um, grew up a Michael Jordan fan. You know, um, and then obviously, when Kobe came into town, um, yeah. So I had a deep passion for it. Grew up playing basketball. But then I also got into golf. I got into golf at a pretty young age. I got into golf when I was like, I think 10, 11 years old. Um, I was a part of like this little junior club in Montebello. And yeah, I mean, I think I just had I don't know, like it just clicked for me pretty easily. Like, um, we had a group of kids and like we had a coach or an instructor, and he was a pretty older guy, and he would just teach us how to golf, and he would take us to courses, or we would go to courses, and or at the course at the Montebello course that we were at, and we were just practice, and then we would have tournaments. Um, and I won quite a few tournaments, in that 2 or 3 year stretch that I was a part of that club, and so it was pretty much like basketball, golf, played football growing up as well. Pee wee football. You know, um, and then middle school came around, and we left. So my seventh grade year, we left from Pomona and we moved to Fontana, and um, yeah, we were in Fontana for quite a while. And yeah, so like just always I was always in sports. Middle school played flag football, played basketball, and then I would just play golf, like you know, just with you know my dad. My mom started getting into golf with my stepdad, and we would play. Um, my uncles. I think my uncles, or yeah, my uncles they started playing a while back, and I think that's why I kind of had an idea of golf because like when we were East LA, like I would see like clubs around, and I think I would probably just grab the clubs and just swing. So like I always had kind of an idea of like what golf was. Um, so like by the time I got into that club, I already kind of had a good idea of what it was. And then during that time is when, Tiger, he started to, um, he, he started his, rise in the game. And, I think that's what kind of just made more of an impact, just watching Tiger. Like obviously if you know golf and you know that era, like Tiger just took the game and he just took it and completely made it something more, I guess, enjoyable, and like his passion, his fire, his energy, his athleticism. It was something completely different than what golf I guess, was leading up to that point. Obviously there was great golfers um, throughout history, but when Tiger came in, he just, he came in at a young age, just this young, um, black Asian dude that, you know, people weren't really used to seeing at that time, and he just dominated. He dominated. He dominated the sport, you know, and just little by little, just evolutionized the sport. And during that time, that's when I was really kind of, getting into it. So like, it was like a perfect kind of timing, kind of like the same thing. Well, I mean, Jordan was already kind of doing his thing, before I was really able to kind of um, comprehend and, uh, take in what he would do on the court and stuff like that. I think I really started watching basketball when I was probably like 5 or 6 years old. And so by that time, he was already on his fifth and sixth ring. So, but my dad, he would show me videos and, little movies about him. And then obviously Space Jam, came out. And so like, that was just, what it was, and, so like I was already able to kind of like see like, dang, like, this is the best basketball player in the game. And then growing up, obviously learning more and more, and then Kobe came around, and he was pretty much a mirror image of Jordan. You know, um, but maybe just a little bit more. He just added another different type of flavor to it. I mean, he obviously he idolized Jordan. He idolized Jordan, and he mirrored his game after Jordan. So like everything he would do on the court was just like Jordan, but he just maybe added a different element to it. So it's like obviously there's the whole comparison of like, oh well, like, who's better, Kobe or Jordan? Well, I mean, it's like um I don't think you could really compare the two because they're kind of like the same person. Jordan was who he was because of his greatness and his dominance and the way he made the game just look so easily, and how he came in and just, like I was saying with Tiger, he just came in and just evolutionized the game in a way where it was just like nobody was ever nobody had ever seen anybody do the things that he was doing. His athleticism, his quickness, his jumping ability, his clutchness, you know. And when the nineties, started rolling around, by that time he was already dominating the game. Won his first title in 1991. Took out the Lakers. An old Lakers team. Magic was already on his way out, but it was kind of like a passing of the torch moment where like Magic, Showtime Lakers, you know, kind of dominated the 80s, and Jordan came in, I think, 85. So from 85 to 90, 91, that was like his growth period. He had some tough matches against Detroit, the bad boy Pistons, and yeah, so like Jordan was able to do what he was able to do because he took the game to another level, and which is why he, in my opinion, might be the best player to ever play the game. But Kobe was pretty much that same person. He was pretty much that same person, and like for me, it's like 1A, 1B. You know, um, obviously Kobe was like my favorite player because he obviously, when he was on the Lakers. Two, at that time I was already older and I was already able to just watch Kobe and just like, idolize him, you know. Um, and so yeah, like uh, I would try to like emulate Kobe, when I would play basketball. And yeah, so like going back to Tiger, like that's pretty much what Tiger did, with golf. And so like I think that's what kind of made me like golf even more because watching Tiger and watching his energy, I would try to be like Tiger when I was playing golf, you know. Um, and so yeah, like, golf has been a part of my life for a while, and that's why I still love the game. I think golf right now is like uh it is probably one of my biggest passions. Basketball. I still have a passion for basketball, but you know, as you get older, it gets a little bit more tough to get out there and go at it the way you used to. But with golf, with golf not being as physical, still a physical game. Um, Obviously, you gotta be able to swing that club. You gotta be, strong enough to, get it out there far enough and stuff like that. But golf is just a lot more, it's a lot more mental. Golf is just a very mental game, and it will test you mentally because it's so hard, so challenging. It's a very technical game where it's like it's something completely different than, any other sport. So that's why, I'm able to I'm still able to really, you know, play golf at a high level, I guess. Um, Obviously, like I'm no pro or anything like that, but you know, there's still time. But yeah, I just love golf. I just love everything about it, everything it offers, every aspect of it. I love coaching golf. Right now I coach golf. I'm, part of an organization with kids, and that's another thing. Like kids, more and more kids are starting to get into golf. So yeah, I played in high school. Played in high school, played football my freshman year. Played basketball throughout high school. Um, played played a year of basketball in junior college. But yeah, I mean, sports was always my go-to. Sports allowed me to like really, I guess, express myself in a different way. It allowed me to, I guess, escape in a sense from like normal life. Excuse me. Um, and that's why I say like sports, like thank God for sports. Thank God for sports. Like without sports, I don't know where we would be like as a society. I think sports provides, some type of like escape, you know, like so many kids out there, that need sports. You know, they need something to get them out of what their, normal life is, like, and it provides something that can change someone's life. I mean, you look at all the greats, you look at most of the great athletes in sports, whether it's in basketball, football, baseball, golf, boxing, you know, uh, anything, soccer. Most of the greats that have came out of the sports, come from backgrounds where, like, if it wasn't for sports, their lives might have been completely different. You know, um, you look at Mike Tyson, and his background, and him growing up in a pretty rough part of New York, in Brooklyn, I believe, and if it wasn't for boxing, if it wasn't for his trainer, Custom Model, like, his life would have been completely different. Like, he's came out and he's explained his story, you know, and you look at his dominance in boxing. You look at how he was able to just completely destroy people, you know. So sports is everything. Sports is everything. Sports allows kids to be able to, be kids. And that's what it was for me, you know. Sports gave me, something to go to when, I might have been maybe struggling with something that during the time, or just to be able to just do something, you know, something fun, whether it was playing basketball with my friends, going to the park, playing basketball, playing football, you know, um, and like I said, maybe just playing golf, you know, with whoever I play golf with. Like, I've met some of the best people in my life through sports. Like, you know, um, so, like, sports is everything to me, man. It really is. It really is everything to me. Um, it's given me so much. Whether it's basketball, whether it's football or golf or whatever. I never played baseball, like, or like organized baseball, but I would play baseball, like, with friends, or my pops would take me out and he would uh, just pitch to me, and I would just hit balls, batting cages, so I always liked baseball. Um, Even tennis, we would play tennis. Uh, so, like, I was always into sports, always into sports. Whatever sport, whatever sport. But yeah, I mean, you know, going through high school, it was, fun being involved in sports. You get to develop close relationships and, bonds you know, you, that you had, you know, um, and you develop so much in sports. You develop, discipline, you develop, different mindsets, competitiveness, um, mental strength, physical strength, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think it's super important, to have kids in sports. If you have kids, if for all my parents out there, like, if you have kids, like, sports has to be, you know, it has to be one of those things that you got to get your kids into, you know. I mean, obviously, we have, like, like artistic stuff and musical stuff, which is great too. If they're into music, if they're into art, that's awesome too. I would love to put my daughter into like, a piano class or, something like that. Um, she does like to draw, so which is cool. She's like a little artist. But I'll definitely be putting her into, you know, some sport. If she likes to, cool. If she doesn't, cool. But at least, she got that experience. Even like karate or something like that, mixed martial arts, like that's super important as well. That's something I wish I would have done when I was little, is like some type of like mixed martial arts. I'm thinking of doing something like that now, like jujitsu or even like boxing or something like that. Um, but yeah, it was always sports was always a part of my life, and that's why I love sports, and that's why like I think when I started this, it was just like okay, sports, you know, it's just it's like a natural instinct. Um, but yeah, so I grew up. I mean, I finished. Well, I did 3 years in high school in Fontana, and then we moved to Riverside my senior year, and I finished out my high school days out in Riverside, which is where I met my wife. Met my wife in high school. Shout out to my wife, and she'll be coming on here pretty soon. But yeah, um, met one of my best friend, my brother from another mother. You know, Shout out to my bro, dude. Um, met him playing golf. Met him playing golf. I joined the golf team, and my senior year when I went to high school out there, joined the golf team, and met him, and we clicked and been boys ever since. He's my best man at my wedding. So yeah, like I said, you meet some of the best people through sports, and and yeah, so yeah, I mean you know that's pretty much like my childhood through you know I guess what it is, adolescence, early adulthood, in a nutshell. Um, but yeah, definitely moved a lot. Definitely moved a lot, you know. So if you're able to relate to that, shout out to you. And yeah, obviously, had a cool I guess 20s run, you know, did what 20-year-olds did or did what 20-year-olds do, all that good stuff. And yeah, we're here now, Like I said, I got a 4-year-old daughter. She's my world, completely just showed me a whole new side of love, love that like you can't explain. So yeah, I got married, been married to my wife for let's see, we just had our 8 year anniversary. Wait, no, 7 year anniversary. 7 year anniversary. We've been together since 2010, so we've been together for 15 years, which is crazy. We were like just little kids, little kids in love. Um, but yeah, she's my better half, you know. Um, she's she's like she's special. She's special. Definitely wouldn't have been able to do a lot of things without her. She's been by my side, through thick and thin. So, uh, yeah. So, we got married in 2018, and yeah, you know, we got a whole lifetime ahead of us. We'll see. We'll see if we pop out a couple more, maybe one more, maybe one more. It's just scary. It's just scary right now, this world, man. But yeah, I think we'll have one more. But yeah, guys, I mean that's pretty much that's pretty much me. That's pretty much Jordan Zavala. Um, you know. So if you're out there, you're watching and you like golf, hit me up. We could link up, we could play some golf, you know. Um, but obviously, people that do know me, shout out to you guys. Shout out to you guys for being in my life for one way or another. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it, you know. Um, if I think of anything else, maybe I'll talk about it in the next one. Like I said, it's Thursday. It's Thursday. We got week 6 popping off tonight. Eagles and Giants. Uh, so football season is off and is cracking right now. A lot of injuries though. A lot of injuries. Um, let's see what the schedule's looking like. Let's see what week 6 got. So we got Philly in New York. Jackson Dart looking to take out Philly, but I got Philly. I got Philly in New York. I think they'll bounce back. And then getting us started on Sunday at 6 a.m. Or if you watch the last episode, um, my mistake. I don't know why I thought Monday Night Football was in Mexico. I don't know if I saw something or I don't know. So I'm over here spreading misinformation. But the game was definitely not in Mexico. It was in Jacksonville. Jacksonville took out the Chiefs. Really good game. But yeah, that's my bad. My bad. I think they are planning to have a Monday Night Football game in Mexico, though, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. But anyway, so like, yeah. So we have Denver and New York in London, England. In London, England, Denver and New York. I'll take Denver. It looks like they're getting the cooking right now. And then we got Arizona at Indy. Indy coming off a complete ass whooping of the Raiders. Um, I think Kyler Murray might be out. But I'm gonna take Indy. I'm gonna take Indy. I think they're gonna keep it rolling. Then we got Chargers in Miami. Chargers are kind of struggling right now. They're on a 2-game losing streak. Miami, they won last week, I believe. Um, but they had that crazy injury with Tyreek Hill. Man, that's a good game. I'm gonna take Miami at home. I don't know. I think the Chargers might be in a little. I don't know. I'm gonna take Miami at home. It should be a good game though. Then we got New England in New Orleans against the Saints. New England coming off a good win against Buffalo. So I'm gonna take New England in New Orleans. Saints had a good win as well last week. But New England, the Patriots are looking pretty good. Looks like May he's starting to get his stuff going. I'll take Patriots, and then we got Cleveland in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh coming off a bye. Um, Cleveland they got Dylan Gabriel in there. They just shipped Flacco out, so I'll take Pittsburgh at home. I think they'll keep their season rolling. Then we got Dallas in Carolina. I'll take Dallas. I'll take Dallas in Carolina. Seattle in Jacksonville. Seattle coming off a crazy loss against the Bucks. That was a good game. Jacksonville coming off a good win against the Chiefs. That should be a really good game. Should be a really good game. Um, we don't take Jacksonville at home. I think they're gonna keep it rolling. Damn, that's a great game. But I'll take Jacksonville. I'll take Jacksonville at home. Then we got the Rams in Baltimore, who are really struggling. Lamar Jackson is out still, so I'll take the Rams. I think they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back and get that dub. Then we got Tennessee in Las Vegas. The Raiders are just, I don't know what's going on with them. I think Gino's just, he's just not able to find his groove. But I think this could be a game that we could take. I mean, either way, I'm gonna go with my Raiders. But um, yeah, I think we could take this game. Then we got Cincinnati in Green Bay. I'll take Green Bay at home. Then we got San Francisco in Tampa Bay. That's gonna be a great one. Um, Tampa Bay, they're one of the top teams in the league right now, in my opinion. So I'll take Tampa Bay at home. That's I don't know, that's the afternoon game. So Tampa Bay at home, and then we got Sunday night, Detroit in Kansas City. Probably the game of the week. Detroit, they might be the best team in the league right now. Kansas City coming off a tough loss in Jacksonville. But I mean, they, I mean, they still got a great team. Uh, Damn, it's gonna be a good game. I'm gonna take Detroit. I'll take Detroit. Then we got another double header on Monday night. We got Buffalo in Atlanta. I'll take Buffalo. I'll take Buffalo. I think they're gonna bounce back this week. And then Chicago in Washington. I'll take Washington. Looks like they're gonna start getting their season going with Jaden Daniels. Although Caleb Williams, he might be knocking in too. But I'm gonna take Washington at home. So yeah, looks like we got a pretty good week 6 coming up. A lot of good games. So we'll see how they turn out. See how we turn out. Then we got Dodgers. Dodgers today. Today at 3. Hopefully we can just get it done. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. Move on to the next one and get in the World Series. If the Dodgers make it to the World Series, um, I'm gonna declare it right now. You guys heard it here first. If they make it to the World Series, I'm gonna shave my head bald. Shave my head bald. I'll go bald throughout the whole series. Um, you know, pretty much almost there. But yeah, if they go to the World Series, I will go bald. I will shave my head bald. I'll record it, probably make an episode of it. So yeah, let's go Dodgers, baby. let's do it. Let's get it for Kirsch. You know, he had a rough outing last night, but let's bounce back and let's do it. Yeah, guys. I mean, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to my story. I'm sure I got a plenty more, but I'll maybe save it for future episodes. So, yeah, guys. Uh, Stay safe out there. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing. Keep grinding, and let's keep trying to make this home stretch, a good one. So, yeah, it's been nothing but rip, guys. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.